Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. So today we're going to be diving in and spending about 30 minutes talking about the steps to build business credit. Now, for anybody that would like a lot of information on this, feel free to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/credit suite. We have videos that go an hour and a half on this topic that are a lot more elaborate. But I've had a lot of requests to be able to produce something that's just a little bit easier to consume, just a summary overview of how the process works to build business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your personal social, to get credit without a personal guarantee and credit check. We're going to try to wrap this thing in about 30 minutes and give you all the information that you're going to need to successfully do this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the CEO here at Credit Suite. And at Credit Suite, this is what we do. We've helped about 15,000 people to date build business credit, and that number is growing rapidly. So if we can ever help you along the way, feel free to grab our free 4-step guide that maps out these steps at creditsuite.com/EIN. Also, feel free to give us a ring at 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. And feel free to email us at info@creditsuite.com, and we'll definitely help you along the way as you're building business credit. So when we're talking about business credit, what we're ultimately talking about here is building a credit profile, building a credit score that is linked to your business EIN number, is not associated with your personal Social Security number. Now, look, regulations have recently changed in 2018, and you may be required to supply a Social Security number and date of birth for verification purposes only. But when we talk about business credit, we're talking about building a credit profile for your EIN, and that credit profile that you're building then being used to go in and start qualifying to get credit and even make it easier to get financing for the business. This credit's not linked to your social, meaning there's not a personal credit check. There's not a personal guarantee. Personal credit quality doesn't affect it. So when we talk about business credit that's not linked to your or not linked to your social, that's what it means. You can get approved regardless of personal credit and without that personal guarantee. So again, this is credit in the business's name. So it's based on the business's ability to pay. So it might create skepticism to say that you can get credit for your business regardless of consumer credit, but it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. What we're ultimately doing here is building a credit profile and score for your business so your business can self-sustain, so your business can stand on its own. And when people ask me about what business credit does, this is how I explain it. I say, look, business credit can help your business fund itself. And that's what we're really talking about. We're initially building your credit profile and score, then using that for the business to start obtaining high limit credit cards that it can then use to fund itself and make it easier even to get loans and credit lines. So when done correctly, business credit's obtained with no personal credit check. So that means that they're not even looking at your personal credit. Personal credit quality won't determine approval or denial because you're not even providing your personal credit to be looked at. You're not giving them permission to pull your personal credit. And as a result of that, your personal credit doesn't matter when it comes to getting approved or denied. Plus, the business owner isn't personally liable for the credit the business obtains. So there's no personal guarantee. So this is a big reason that SBA Inc. Entrepreneur and so many SBA score, so many of financial authorities talk about this and the importance of building business credit is because it separates personal and business credit and it separates personal and business liability. So those are some of the big benefits is that you're not personally guaranteed for what's happening in the business, meaning that you're not personally liable for what happens in the business. And that means if you were ever to default on the credit, they can't come after your personal assets. They can only come after the business's assets. So this keeps your family's finances safe and secure no matter what may happen with the business or any of the actual business debts. One of the biggest reasons people build business credit. So a lot of benefits here. According to SBA, card limits on business credit accounts that I'm going to talk with you about building today are about 10 to 100 times higher than consumer credit. This makes sense. One of the core components of credit is called capacity. And what it really comes down to is a business has a greater appetite for cash or spending, a greater need for credit capacity than an individual does. So the bottom line is you're never going to go spend $10,000 at Dell on Dell computers for a home because you don't need to ever do that. But in a business, you could easily spend $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 at Dell on Dell computers. This is why the limits on these accounts are so much higher. This is why you can get to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 limit individual credit cards within 6 months or less. What determines how high those limits are is how much you're spending. If you're using the credit you're getting, the more of the credit you're using and the more your credit reports show that you're putting thousands of dollars on that credit every month, the higher the future limits will become. So very high limits very quickly when building business credit. As we mentioned, you can build it without a personal credit check. So that makes a big difference if you have credit issues. But even if you have excellent credit, it's even more impactful because inquiries on your current consumer credit report can really hurt your ability to get business financing. We have a program where business owners can get credit lines for their business, even as a startup, and they can get up to $150,000 in credit lines. But the problem is, even one inquiry can cost you $25,000 of funding with that one product. So this is the way that it is in business lending is inquiries on your credit report. The fact that they're there will really inhibit your ability to get a lot of loans and credit lines that are out there, even business credit cards. So no matter how good or bad your personal credit is, you need to keep as many credit issuers away from pulling your consumer credit as possible to save those inquiries to make it easier to get loans and credit lines. There's no consumer credit reporting either. So these business accounts report to the Business Credit Reporting Agency. So not only are you building a credit profile and score for your business that helps your business stand on its own and fund itself, you could use that credit without hurting your consumer credit. The problem, one of the biggest the mistakes that I see business owners make, and I just talked in Las Vegas to a big group of loan brokers that agrees that this is one of the big problems they face as well, is the fact that people get started, they usually underestimate how much time it's going to cost to start the business and how much money it's going to cost to start the business. They think they have consumer credit cards and they think they're going to pay for that expense on those consumer credit cards because they're accessible. They quickly realize the expense to start the business or grow the business is much more than they anticipated. They quickly start to max out their consumer credit cards. Now, 30% of your consumer FICO scores what percentage of your high credit limits you're using. So when you start to put balances on your credit cards that are ever climbing higher and higher, and the closer you get to those limits, the lower your scores get. Then by the time you realize that you need to get more money, your credit's so damaged that your ability to get credit lines and loans at that point is absolutely ruined. Look, lenders and credit issuers don't want to loan money to people in trouble because people in trouble are the least likely to pay back. So you don't ever want to go looking for money once you've maxed out your credit card. Your chances of getting it diminish greatly the higher those balances climb. So with business credit, you can put those balances reporting on your business reports. It won't affect you at all. Your commercial credit reports don't even show your limits. And on the consumer side, you'll keep your consumer FICO score intact because you could max out these business credit cards. And since business credit scores are based on how you pay, not utilization, you won't adversely affect your business credit scores and you won't impact your consumer credit scores at all because the accounts are reporting on your business credit reports. Now, another huge benefit of business credit is it can be built really quickly. I'm going to teach you today how to get vendor accounts as soon as we wrap up or even before you're done with this webinar. And you're able to get high limit store accounts with retailers. So I call this the retail credit tier. With retail credit, Amazon, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, everywhere in between that you can think of, from Dell, Apple, Office Depot, Lowe's, Home Depot, Staples. Most major retailers offer that kind of credit that you can get in about 60 days. And you can get auto vehicle financing, Visa card, MasterCard, American Express in about 4 to 6 months if you're following the process and have close relationships where you can get answers quickly to questions you may have as you're going through this process. So anyone can qualify, including startups, nonprofits. If you have a business in the United States, even if you do not reside in the United States, you can get what I'm going to tell you about today. And here's why that's a big deal. Because in order to get a loan, in order to get a credit line, you either need to have good consumer credit, consistent cash flow and be in business about 1 year or more, or some kind of collateral like a 401k stocks or equipment or inventory, something like that. If you don't have cash flow, credit, or collateral, if you don't have any of those three, you're unlendable. You can't get money from banks, alternative lenders, etc. But business credit's what I call a catch-all. Everybody can qualify. If you have a business in the United States, you can get it. Your consumer credit doesn't matter. It doesn't require collateral. You don't require cash flow. So you can get it as a startup. You can get it as established business. You can get it as a for-profit or a nonprofit. As long as you have a business in the United States, what I'm going to tell you today, absolutely without a doubt, will actually work for you. Okay, so why establish business credit? Well, as we mentioned, the limits are much much, much higher on business credit accounts and consumer credit accounts. So if you're trying to run a trucking business, it's going to be much easier to do so with $20,000 fleet and gas cards. If you're trying to flip real estate, then it's going to be much easier to do so when you have $20,000 to $50,000 individual limit credit cards that you could liquidate the cash and use to buy property, or the Lowe's and the Home Depot to do fix and flips. Okay. Or if you work at an office like I do, well, Office Depot is very valuable to us. Staples and Amazon is really valuable to us because we spend a lot of money with Amazon. So these high limit accounts can really help you fund your business. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that they try to go out and look for a loan for $20,000. But the problem is getting a loan for $20,000, even if you're like a startup, for example, that's very difficult to do. But if you really look at what you're spending the money on or what you need the money for, it's easier to get business credit cards to cover most of that stuff. If you need computers, well, then get Dell and Apple. If you need office supplies, well, then get Staples and Office Depot. If you need furniture, well, then get IKEA, get Staples, get Amazon. And this way you can cover most of your expenses using business credit cards, which are much easier to get the loans and credit lines. Then you only need a loan or a credit line for a smaller amount of money for things like payroll, etc. So again, using these high limit accounts can really help your business fund itself. You also need to access money before you need it. And yes, you will need it. Look, the majority of businesses fail in the United States. And the reason is because of lack of access to capital and management mistakes per SBA and most studies on this topic. The bottom line is the more money you have in reserves, the more you are able to help handle unexpected things like marketing not working, a customer, a bunch of chargebacks one month. There's a million things that can happen that are unexpected. Sales decline dramatically one month. So having that money accessible when you need it, all the statistics show is the difference between a business that succeeds and thrives and a business that fails. You got to get this money before you need it. Because like I said, if you wait until you really need it, where your utilization ratios are out of whack, your credit score is damaged, then it becomes extremely difficult to get what you need. Okay. And it also takes business credit building as a process. So you want to get it started as early as possible. Lenders use this approval to determine if you'll be approved for financing, the loan amounts that you'll get, and the rates and terms that you'll pay as well. So it becomes very, very, very important for you to establish business credit if you ever want to get financing, especially if you want to get the most money at the best terms. And business credit's also your reputation. You know, consumer credit, I need your permission to pull your consumer credit report. It's called permissible purpose under a law known as the Fair Credit Reporting Act. But in the business world, there is no Fair Credit Reporting Act. Anybody who wants to can look at your business credit profile and scores. This means the normal people you'd expect, lenders, credit issuers, suppliers, they're all pulling it. But it also means that other people are pulling it too. Prospects, clients, potential investors into your business, competitors. This is public-facing information. So you need to control the perception others have of your business. The last thing you'd want to do is try to land a high clientele, a high tier client, and then the problem is lose that because they look and see how bad your business credit profile and score is. And in the business credit world, you'll be given a failing credit score and profile even if you have no credit established. So if Experian and Equifax know you exist, they know your SIC code, and they know the state you reside in, then they will, which they usually get that information from your Secretary of State whenever you file an annual report every year, then they immediately populate a credit report and give you a failing score. And again, if you go to youtube.com/credit suite, you can see plenty of webinars where we actually show real credit reports where you can see this happen. So you need to make sure that you don't have a failing score, because the failing score literally depicts that you're about to file bankruptcy. That's not what you want others to see about your business. So your business credit is public information. It's front facing. You need to make sure that you control it to have the best reputation. And again, as I mentioned, it takes a little bit of time to establish. So you don't want to wait until you need it. You want to get started as soon as you can to start building the business credit profile and score to make it easier to access the capital when you're ready to access the capital. So establishing business credit, step one. The very first step in building business credit is legitimacy. So here's what happens. All lenders and credit issuers have a secret set of standards you must meet. If you meet the standards, you get automated approvals, especially on credit cards. If you don't meet the standards, then it usually gets pushed for a manual review, and you get the dreaded message that you'll hear by mail in 7 to 10 days. If you are like me, that 7 to 10 days you hear by mail is never good. It's usually a denial, and the letter is usually telling you the credit bureau that they pulled to issue you the denial. My goal for you is for you to get automated high limit approvals. In order to get approved for high limit accounts, you must first understand and accept that these credit issuers' computers have a set of standards that you must meet. If you meet the set of standards, it's like check marks go off with each one. If you don't, then it throws up a red flag. You have enough red flags, it gets pushed for a manual underwriting review. And like I said, 9.9 out of 10 cases that I've ever seen, that manual review ends up in a denial. So we've got to establish this credibility to make sure we meet the criteria and the algorithm that these computers have, so you have the best chance of getting approved. So that starts with your business name. You want to try to avoid names that reflect that you're in a high risk industry. So some of these are bail bondsmen, for example. If you're selling guns, you're selling ammunition, anything in financial services, mortgage brokers, insurance agents, even us being in the financial services industry. So if you lenders and credit issuers lenders are going to dive deeper into this. They're going to look deeper into your business and your website, etc. Credit issuers are not. Credit issuers their computers are making decisions based on the surface, what's on the surface of the information you're providing. So if you provide a business name, we are a perfect example of what not to do, like Credit Suite. The fact that credit is in our name throws up a red flag. It makes us face more scrutiny whenever we try to get credit cards or loans. So if we just had, Consultant Suite, then it wouldn't reflect that we're in a high risk industry. So trying to keep your name away from high risk industries will help prevent those red flags and help you get approved. You need to set up an entity. It doesn't matter which entity you choose, but if you choose a sole proprietorship or a partnership, you are the business. I'm not an attorney, and this isn't legal advice, but you always be liable for what happens in the business. So you want to try to choose a corporation or an LLC that gives you the best chance of limiting your liability, which is one of the primary goals of business credit. You need to have a website set up, and you need to have a professional email address. These computers will throw up red flags if you're using Gmail and all the Ymail and all those type of email addresses. So my email address is info@creditsuite.com, and our website is creditsuite.com. Pretty reflective of what you want. You want an email address that probably the @ the blank is your website name. You want to make sure the website and email are one and the same, because otherwise, if you're using those personal extensions like Gmail, it'll oftentimes get you a red flag and potentially lead to a denial as well. You need to set up a business phone. Never use a mobile phone. Never use a home phone on a business application. You need to make sure you get a toll-free number, because that's pretty much the norm for businesses in the United States now. You need to have a fax number. Some applications will ask for a fax number. You don't ever want to leave a field like that blank, because that will obviously make you look more unestablished than established. And one of the little nuances that a lot of people don't know is that you also need to make sure that your phone number is listed with 411. Now, the reason for this is because a lot of the initial credit issuers you're about to learn about look at 411 to see if you're established. Most people can't just go to 411 and get established. They have to find you organically through Google and such. There are services like we use List Yourself that can help you with the listing of with the 411. You need to have a business address. That's the best case scenario. Second best case scenario is you can then use a virtual address like Regis or Alliance. You can go to creditsuite.com/virtual for our best source there. And third choice is a home address. If you use a home address, some sources like Walmart won't approve you, and a picture of your house can actually appear on your business credit report, but it's better than using a PO box or a UPS address. Never use those. Those will oftentimes get you automatic denial. You need to make sure that all your information is congruent. One of the biggest reasons business loans get denied is because the information somebody puts on the application doesn't match exactly what the lender finds in their searches with places like LexisNexis and with places like the Small Business Financial Exchange and Secretary of State. If a lot of those things you're not familiar with, that's okay. Most people aren't, but the lenders are. And they're pulling all this information from other applications you filled out, from online listings. So you've got to make sure that that information is congruent, because if that information is not congruent, meaning your address, your name, your phone number isn't the same listed everywhere, that can throw up a red flag and get you denied as well. It's actually very, very, very important. Any licenses you need, you should have a bank account set up. They're not going to verify your bank account. What they're going to ask you for is a bank reference, a reference from somebody that works at the bank that you have your business bank account with. You won't have that unless you have a business bank account, which is why you need to make sure that you set up that business bank account. So again, you can also see if you have a credit profile established now, and you can do so for free. Like I said, the reporting agencies will populate a credit report score for you, even if you have no credit. You can go to creditsuite.com/reports, and that gives you a link to Experian, Equifax, and Dun & Bradstreet that you can then do a free search to see if they know anything about you now. It becomes very important to do that free search. You can also follow the Dun & Bradstreet link to get your DUNS number. And the DUNS number is the last piece of credibility you're going to want to establish. Some credit issuers will approve you with no problem without it. Others will not approve you unless you have it. And we've done tests where people got denied without providing it, then provided the DUNS and turned around and got approved. So this becomes an important step of the process as well. So as you wrap up credibility, now it's time to establish initial business credit. There's 4 different ways to do this. The most common is to get initial credit with vendors. This is called the vendor credit tier. Now, vendors, if you're not familiar, give you terms on things like net 30, which means you have 30 days to pay back the balance of what you owe. So revolving credit, if you have a balance of $1,000, you might be able to pay $25 a month until that $1,000 is paid off. With net 30 account, you'd only have 30 days, i.e. the net 30, to be able to pay back that balance in its entirety. This is the first step. When you start building consumer credit, you start up with secured credit cards. When you start in the business credit world, there's not very many secure credit cards. Wells Fargo is one of them, but you're going to start with these vendors where it's not a secured, it's a net 30, net 15, net 55 type of account versus revolving. Uline, Quill, Granger, Strategic Network Solutions. You're going to need about 5 of these, but here are some of the ones that are the most popular in this space who will give you credit, because there's 2 criteria vendors have to meet. They have to be willing to give you credit when you have no established business credit now, and they have to be willing to report that credit to the business credit reporting agencies. Over 97% of trade vendors do not report the credit to the reporting agencies, so you got to find credit issuers that do. Here's some that do. Getting accounts with them, buying stuff, putting stuff in your shopping cart, buying stuff with them, paying the bill. That's what will get these accounts reported on your business credit reports. And again, ton of training on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/credit suite, more in depth to these vendors, how to get approved, the process with each one of them to actually be able to secure the credit cards. But you want to get those vendor accounts. Now, be careful of misinformation, okay? We have a group on Facebook called Get Business Credit. You should check it out. We've got about, 20,000 members in there. There's about, equally, about 18,000 engagements every month with likes, comments. It's a highly active group. And the reason I'm telling you this is that, look, I look at forums all the time, and I can tell you that easily 85% of the information I see on forums is wrong. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the information even in our group is often wrong that people are posting. You're learning from other people that are making their own mistakes, and business credit's very subjective. Your experience is different than somebody else's, so be careful of misinformation. People telling you to go get credit with vendors, then you get credit and find out they no longer report. Places like Seton used to report, didn't. Gimplers report sometimes they don't. So knowing accurate information becomes important. This group can at least help put you on the right course. So again, to build that business credit, you put an item in the cart, you set up an account with them, you choose to be invoiced, and you got to pay after the item ships. If you pay before the item ships, it will not count as credit and will not report on your business credit reports. You should also have 5 of these type of accounts before you move on to the next step. It'll take about 30 to 90 days for them to report. As a matter of fact, a lot of them will report in 30 days. Some of them report every quarter, every 90 days. So it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to report because it takes them longer. So D&B Credit Builder, the second way you could do this, you can add accounts to your Dun & Bradstreet credit reports. Now, the problem with this is twofold. It's expensive. It's about $1,500 to $2,000 if you're paying Dun & Bradstreet to do this. The second issue is that you can't add most accounts. Utilities, rent, lease, bank, credit card payments can't be added. The other problem is with this is that Dun & Bradstreet, you're only building credit with them. So you still have to build credit with the other reporting agencies. Now, we do have something else that will appear eventually at creditsuite.com/monitoring. We're testing. So we have found a reporting agency that works with Experian and CreditSafe that will report payments you already have, like cell phone, utilities, etc., to Experian and CreditSafe. So you could build business credit with accounts you already have. It's a great way to go. Here's the problem. The problem is in our initial beta testing, a lot of the accounts we're trying to add for customers are not getting added. So I'm not ready to release this yet and tell people that this is a product because the beta test has not been successful with this yet. But once we finish our beta test and are verifying that the accounts are actually appearing on the Experian and CreditSafe credit reports, we've seen some. We tested ourselves and it worked well. We've seen others that hasn't worked. So we're figuring that out. And as soon as we get this fine-tuned and feel confident enough to release a product where you could do that, you're going to find it at creditsuite.com/monitoring, and that'll help you add accounts to your business credit reports as well. But again, we're in a beta with that right now. We would never release something like this unless it's tested because it's dangerous to do so. So the fourth option, we've now talked about using vendor accounts, adding accounts to D&B, how to add accounts to Experian and CreditSafe. The fourth option is called unsecured business financing. You can get credit lines up to 150 grand at 0% rates. It's no doc, so startups are welcome. You get 5 accounts or 5 credit lines that all report to the business credit reporting agency, so you build your business credit at the same time. But you have to have a good credit score for this, 680 FICO or a guarantor with a 680 FICO. None of the other options I've shown you have that requirement. You can go to creditsuite.com/get funding. We work with a lot of different sources that do this. And by talking to you individually, we can help figure out the best one that will get you the most money the fastest. And we'll be able to help move forward and get you approved. And we never charge you a dime to do this. The lender, the credit issuers, they all charge fees. We negotiate to get all that as low as possible as well and roll it into the loan like SBA loans. But we're here to help you at no cost. So go to creditsuite.com/get funding and we'll help you get set up on that kind of funding program as well. Step 3, you must track your progress. Building business credit's all about how many accounts you have reporting on your reports. When you have 5 experiences, you could move on to revolving retail credit. When you have 14, you can move on to cash credit. In order to know how many accounts are reporting, you've got to have access to business credit reports. That tells you the next step of when to proceed. Now you can go to creditsuite.com/monitor now. Instead of paying $200 with Experian and D&B, that's how much they charge. D&B is $150, Experian is $50. They charge you $200 a month for monitoring. If you go to creditsuite.com/monitoring, you can access our nav integration. It's only $24. It makes it cheap to monitor that business credit, or you could spend the $200 with Experian and D&B and get the same thing, but that gives you a good choice. So now that you've got 5 accounts, now you can move on to revolving credit, where you can get approved with no credit check or personal guarantee. And this is when you're going to start to get approved for that retail credit tier. This is Lowe's, Office Depot, Nordstrom, Costco, Walmart, Amazon. This is, BJ's. This is Sprint, Sears. I mean, most major retailers offer this kind of business credit that will start to approve you with 5 accounts. Now, some you need 10 accounts, some you need 8, some you need 5. So it starts with 5 accounts. These type of retailers will then start to approve you for credit. You're also able to get fleet credit at this tier time too, the fleet credit tier. This is BP, Chevron, Sunoco. It's WEX fleet cards. These really have a big use for people in the transportation industry. I don't get fleet cards. I don't even know if we can because we don't have a fleet of vehicles. So I tried once and we weren't able to get approved because we don't have the necessary amount of vehicles or usage for this. But if you're in industries like transportation, it can be very useful. If you're not, you're probably not going to get as much of a benefit from fleet cards. With 14 accounts reporting, you can move on to cash credit. This is the cash credit tier. This is the final step of building business credit. Visa card, MasterCard, American Express. Somebody had got on my live stream the other day and said, I've got like 18 accounts and I'm getting denied. And we found out it was because she was allowing a personal credit to put a personal credit check to take place, and they were denying her based on personal credit quality. You can never authorize a personal credit check with any of this, or they're going to pull your personal credit and tie that into the lending decision. In this case, with 14 accounts on your business credit reports, by only looking at your business credit, you're able to get Visa cards, MasterCards, American Express, even auto vehicle financing, a at this tier as well, with no consumer credit check and no personal guarantee required. So after this, you got to continue building credit. You have to pay all your payments on time or early. The benefit of business credit scores is they're primarily based on how you pay your bills. Again, if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/credit suite, you'll find that pretty much every single commercial credit score that exists, we break down how they work and give you tips of controlling them. But for the most part, credit scores in the business world are based on how you pay. Pay your bills as early as you can after an item ships and as soon as they let you, to try to get the best score. An 80 Dun & Bradstreet Paydex score literally means you pay your bills as agreed. 100 means you pay your bills early. So again, the earlier you pay, the better your scores are, the better rates and terms you're going to get on financing. Good credit, you actually need to grow your business. A lot of people try to follow these steps just to build business credit. Don't do that. The key here is to get credit you need. As I mentioned earlier, the more credit you use, your credit reports show the recent amount of credit you've used in place of your credit limits, like you're used to seeing on your consumer credit reports. So lenders and credit issuers are looking at the amount you're using on that credit card to determine how much to approve you for their credit card. If you're spending less than $100, you're not going to get a very high limit credit card on the next one you go to apply for. But if they pull your business credit report and see you spent $1,000 here and $2,000 recently here and $3,000 recently here, to get a $10,000, $20,000 approval is pretty common. They just want to give you a high limit approval that you're a card that you're actually going to use. So make sure your credit reflects that you're using it. How do you do that? Get credit you're actually going to need. You know, don't go get an account with Quill just to get an account with Quill. Get an account with Quill because Quill has printing resources where you can print marketing flyers and streets or signs that you can put in yards to attract business. And because they actually are selling stuff like computers and printers that you need, that you're going to use to grow the business, spend more, and that will then help you get future higher approvals. And so again, you got to use that credit. You should use it regularly. You don't have to constantly use credit, but I try to use my credit every 1 to 6 months, all the accounts I have, so that recent credit shows on my credit report. And again, you've got to monitor that credit regularly. This is all about making sure that you have high scores because your payments are being paid as agreed. It also comes down to making sure that you're seeing how many accounts are added to your credit reports regularly. And you could do that by going to creditsuite.com/monitoring. That will just save you a ton of money from going to the reporting agencies directly. Okay, so you all have questions. Well, let us help you through the process. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a guide or give us a call, 877-600-2487. This link is not up. I don't even know why I have this on the slide. The link to go to get our free guide on building business credit is actually going to be creditsuite.com/EIN. You can see that on the bottom of the slide. Creditsuite.com/EIN will get you more information on building business credit. So again, we have a ton of information on our YouTube channel that you can access at the top right of our page, creditsuite.com. And this breaks this down much more in depth. I try to do about a 30-minute wrap up of this process because people requested, hey, can you just do like a 30-minute session that breaks down this whole process? It's hard to do with specifics, but I've given you a bunch of specific information. If you'd like more details on this process, more details on every stage of the process, go to creditsuite.com, top right of our page. You'll be able to find our YouTube channel. We go live on Facebook regularly so you can answer questions and we can help you in real time go through this process. We go live on YouTube weekly. We have a podcast you can listen on the go. And we also do a lot of tips on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter daily as well. So there's a lot of information we have beyond what we covered here. And if you have questions or need help along the way, feel free to give us a ring, 877-600-2487, info@creditsuite.com, or visit us online at creditsuite.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Now you know the exact steps to build business credit. Don't forget to grab your free guide at creditsuite.com/EIN. That'll give you even more information to help you successfully build business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your personal social. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.